Bring in Allegra Spender, the independent member for Wentworth, I should say. Allegra, good to see you in person. Thank you for your time. I mean, on economic matters, it's been a big week when it comes to an increased rate, and the governor warning that there is going to be multiple rates to come. Given where you are, your electorate, your business background, what are your thoughts on where this leads?
Look, I think I am concerned. I think for people, for the rate, the speed at the rate rises that people are having to absorb, and also all these people who are coming off, you know, 800,000 people who are coming off fixed rates into much higher floating rate mortgages this year. I think the truth is that, you know, the RBA is pushing hard, but I think this is time for the government to take action in terms of slowing down its spending so that we can really get on top of inflation, because the RBA is not the only one who has levers here. If the government is spending really hard, and you know, it's not just the federal government, it's actually, frankly, the state governments too, then you know, they're putting money into the economy while we're asking consumers to pull back, and that's just not fair.
Right, so what spending would you want to slow?
Look, I think you have to look at some of the you know, things like the National Reconstruction Fund. You know, that's something that the government is, you know, really pushing, and I'm saying, well, does it have to? Do you want to start this spending this year? You know, these are some of the areas where you have to say, look, it may be your priority, you may have promised it, but can you, you know, at least slow down that spending, you know, rather than speed it up.
So would you support that fund?
For that fund, you know, I think the fund has to be really well targeted, and I don't think we've got the information on that yet, because I think it's important, if you're going to put public money into things, it's got to be solving something that the private sector can't solve. And so I do support that, you know, particularly the investment in clean energy and those industries that are sort of nascent. But if they're not, you know, you have to, it's not just about sort of putting public money into things that don't actually need public money, because that's what the capital funds are, that's what capital markets are there for anyway.
Right, so it's not there yet. Your support's not there yet.
You know, there are lots of parts I will support, but I want to get the detail, and I think I also want to get the oversight and make sure that the accountability is absolutely right. But I think from a spending point of view, they really need to say, do we need to spend this money now?
Right, back to Dr. Lowe, just one more on that one. Do you have full faith in him? Do you think his term should be extended?
Look, I'm not going to make that call. I'm on the economics committee. We're going to see, you know, the RBA and Dr. Lowe next week. So that will be part of my oversight, is to you know, make sure that he is doing the right thing and the RBA is doing the right thing for the economy. I don't think it's particularly helpful, actually, to be honest, having politicians commenting on, you know, what the RBA actions are, because that's, you know, it is really important that we have an independent Reserve Bank and an independent fiscal policy.
But what about when hundreds, if not thousands, of people take the RBA's advice and go big on a mortgage because rates are going to be low until 2024 and then get punished for it when it turns out he's wrong? I mean, the credibility of the RBA gets shot because of that.
Look, I think that, you know, he said it was you know, he regrets how it was said and what he said, and I think he was right to make that regret. I am going to call out the media on this, because his wording on that was actually pretty specific, saying, look, the rate rise, we do not expect it to happen until 2024, but the way it was reported was that this won't happen until 2024.
Yeah, I mean, but that's still a fair push, isn't it?
It is. It's a fair push, but I have to say, I think I genuinely hold the media accountable for that, as well as Dr. Lowe. I do think there's a question more broadly on the RBA to say, you know, perhaps was the RBA too slow actually to you know, has the RBA been too slow, you know, keeping interest rate too high in terms of not, you know, bringing down unemployment, because we've seen that unemployment can actually get pretty low. But at the same time, did it take action quickly enough in terms of raising rates when it needed to try and nip inflation at the bud? So it's a challenge. Right.
Just a final one here, because you ran on a climate platform at the last election. Clive Palmer's new coal mine in central Queensland's been nixed by Tanya Plibersek. Your thoughts on that?
Look, I think it's, you know, from what I see, I think that's the right decision. And I think, you know, the argument, I think, is on two fronts. It's on climate, but it's also on, you know, on jobs in the economy. You know, I heard...
Well, there'll be a lot of jobs lost because of this.
But there are also jobs in the barrier reef, in our beautiful natural environment. And so I think to say, well, it's only coal mining jobs that are important, tourism jobs that actually promote and protect our beautiful natural environment and bring people to share that with, I think are also equally important. So I think it's appropriate to make that decision, both for climate reasons and for environmental reasons. Okay.